there's a reason why teams acquire draft capital and young players. Now, all the teams do it, but teams do it for different reasons. You got some teams that actually want to draft those said young players, grow and develop those young players, and to see what they can get out of them. Then you have other teams that you want to use those draft capital and use those young players as assets to acquire an all-star caliber player. Which is the best way to do it? Or does it matter and depend on the said situation and said player? What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sports topic, and today we're going to talk some basketball. Orlando Magic basketball. We're going to talk about the rumors about the Orlando Magic potentially being in the market to acquire Donovan Mitchell. We're going to talk about, we're going to break it down, but before we get into that, like I've been telling you before, if you're liking the content, make sure you liking the channel. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Make sure you sharing the channel on all social media platforms. Any type of social media platform you use, make sure you're sharing on all those same social media platforms. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat. Any type of social media platform you use, make sure you're using and sharing on those same social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media as well. The links in the description below. We're giving away 30 days free Amazon Prime. If you sign up to Amazon Prime, you get 30 days free. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, the link is in the description. You sign up, you get your free 30 days. Also, all my links of my social media is in the same description as well. So hey, follow me on social media as well. Trust me, if you message me, I message you back. Ask anybody that does follow me. If y'all hit me a message, I'll definitely DM you back. Like I said, make sure you liking the channel, subscribe to the channel, comment on all the videos, sharing all the videos, and let's get this channel growing and growing and growing. Now, let's talk about it, because I seen a report or a rumor or a tweet or something of said nature of the Orlando Magic potentially targeting Donovan Mitchell. And I said this a couple weeks ago when it came to the free agency. I wasn't on board with the whole KD, because we know we all seen the picture of Paolo tweet with him and KD, basically a Photoshop picture of him and KD, talking about don't sleep. And I said don't want to give up young assets that acquire Kevin Durant. Then same thing when it came to the whole people talking about throwing a whole bunch of money at Zach LaVine or getting for this free agent. I know they want to have long-term flexibility when it comes to the salary cap space. You want to be able to give Franz and Suggs and Paolo. You want to give those guys those big supermax contracts. So you want to have that same type of long-term flexibility when it comes to the cap space, and you don't want to throw away bad money at players. But this situation here is a little bit different. Now, the proposal that I seen was Suggs, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, I think 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps to acquire Donovan Mitchell. And it actually got me to thinking, is this something that the Orlando Magic could benefit from? Now, I'm going to start by saying this. I think the Orlando Magic have a specific timeline. Well, I think the Orlando Magic timeline is, and this is just me, but this is why I think the Orlando Magic timeline, I think this coming up season, this 22-23 season, I think that this team, at the very least, needs to be in the play-in. Not saying they have to win a play-in game, but just get into the play-in. So, which means anywhere from the 7th seed to the 10th seed, somewhere in that range will get you be involved in the play-in. So I think that's the trajectory for this 22-23 season. Now 23-24 season, I believe the Orlando Magic should be a team that has already got their playoff spot, that they don't have to work for the play-in, which means they will be 6 seed and up, so 6, 5, something around those lines. That's the 2024 season, 2023-2024 season. 2024-2025, I believe they should be somewhere in the top 4 and actually win the playoffs. Because you notice, I didn't say anything about winning the playoff, win the playing game, or win a playoff series. I think by the time 2024-2025 come, they should be winning a playoff series, and they should be at least the 4th seed. And then then when you get into 2025, 2026, I think then you should be having aspirations of, okay, this team should be a legitimate championship contending type team. Not saying they're going to win a championship, but be in contention. It'd be a team that people could actually realistically pick. So, okay, I have this team going to the finals, and now it'd be a joke. That's 2026, 2027. That's that far off. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about in the distant. I'm just more in the distant future. I'm talking about in the near future. But that's the trajectory that the team is on as of right now. When you if they made a play for Donovan Mitchell, I think that speeds up the process. This is where, because I think that automatically skips the whole playing thing. I think okay, now you need to be a six, a 6 seed, 5 seed, 4 seed somewhere right now when you add in Donovan Mitchell. And the reason why I think it's different about adding Donovan Mitchell versus adding Kevin Durant, because like you said you didn't want Kevin Durant, and that's more so of Kevin Durant's age and being 34, and how like I say everybody on the team is 24 and younger. So you talking about a 10-year difference. Donovan Mitchell's 25, if I'm not mistaken. I think Donovan Mitchell's 25. So he fits your timeline from the age standpoint, from your age standpoint, because he's not like he'll be the oldest person on the team, but only by a year, and it actually fits what you want to do. Now the problem with the assets they talking about giving up, I'm not really wanting to give up Cole because I think if you give up Cole, that kind of hurts what you got coming off the bench because I think giving up Cole it hurts your secondary scoring. So I would prefer to give up RJ. Don't know if RJ what. Don't really know if that will get the job done. So then you talk about maybe possibly throwing in Terrence Ross. Terrence Ross kind of gets weird when it comes to the T Ross situation because I think they're already going to get rid of T Ross. But if you acquire somebody like Donovan Mitchell, you change the timeline. You change the timeline, the trajectory of the way the team is going. So if you do that, then it kind of makes sense for you to keep Terrence Ross because then you would need a player like Terrence Ross. But it actually helps fix a problem that the Magic are going to have to find a way to figure out within the next 2 seasons, and that's the whole Paolo, Isaac, Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, R.J. Hampton, Markel Fultz dynamic because you got 3 starting spots and you got with like 7 players that you have to figure out, and then they back up, and then also how to figure out the jump of the minutes. You got number 1 overall pick, who I think is probably cemented in number 1 overall pick, and Paulo, which is I'd say 9 times out of 10 cemented into his spot at being the starting power forward. Okay, then you have a guy who was a first team all rookie in France. So now you're talking about guys. Where the rest of these guys fitting in? Do you got people who are fan favorites like Cole and stuff like that? So now it's like a musical chair game that you have to try to figure out. That kind of helps you by bringing in Donovan Mitchell. You take away Suggs and Jonathan Isaac. I would prefer to give up possibly RJ because I want Cole to be the scorer off the bench. Now you talking about starting 5 of Markel Fultz, who can facilitate. Donovan Mitchell at the 2, Franz Wagner at the 3, Paolo at the 4, Wendell Carter at the 5. Then you're talking about your point guard being you talking about your point guard being Cole Anthony. Don't know point guard being Cole Anthony. You talking about Gary Harris at the 2, which you also another thing because you kind of Gary Harris as your 2 guard. Chumo Kiki as your 3. Then you talking about your 4. We got Mobamba will be your 5. So maybe you push Chuma to the 3. You probably push Chuma to the 4, and then you probably use Houston. Maybe use him as a 2/3 type situation, or you move Gary Harris to the 3. You can figure out the way that you want to play. You still also have Bobo in the mix, but you don't really want to factor too much on him. So I think it actually helps you out from a number situation because they got 16 guys on the roster. Going to have to turn the roster down to 15 anyway. So this kind of helps a little bit when it comes to the facilitating of what you're going to do with the picks and what you're going to do with the players as far as minutes. And the whole people might be reluctant to give up spots. When we're talking about giving them 3 first-round picks and 2 swaps. You do have 2 additional first-round picks. You got Chicago's pick next year, and then 2025 you have Denver's first round pick. And I think if you acquire Donovan Mitchell, you're going to be in the playoffs. So therefore, if you acquire Donovan Mitchell and you acquire Donovan Mitchell and you in the playoffs, you don't need to worry about draft capital. Now I know that's the same philosophy that Brooklyn felt when they acquired James Harden. I mean, you got Kevin Durant, you got Kyrie Irving, you got James Harden. The difference with that is, even though they should have felt more secure on not worried about draft capital, they wasn't expecting um they wasn't expecting these guys to ask for a trade. They wasn't expecting Kevin Durant to ask for a trade. And I think it's more so the personality of the guys that they're trying to. It's more so the personality of the guys that you're trying to hit your whack to. James Harden, who quit on the Houston Rockets. Kyrie Irving, who you never know what he's thinking about, and Kevin Durant, who always runs from a challenge. Ran from OKC, ran from Golden State. Like, he's always been a runner. So it's more so the type of person that they basically pushed all their chips in for. They did it for three different people, which is probably just the three different people that, even though from a basketball talent standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. But for how they act and their type of character and the things that they like to do off the court, as far as the things that they go about handling their business, was the right business decision. And the Brooklyn Nets still have control over the situation, which means they can still play both KD and Kyrie, and not have to worry about their draft picks this season, worry about being the lottery team this season. That I don't think that'll be the same situation when it comes with Orlando. I really don't. I think that, and then Donovan Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's under contract for the next 3 years. Under contract for the next 4 years, and has a player option in his fourth year. So you at the very least will have him under contract for the next 3 years, which is 3 first round picks. So you still should be fine, like I said, especially if you give up give up the Chicago pick and the Denver Nugget pick. So you still will have your first round picks in the mix. And even though I'm talking about giving up pick swaps, I mean you have to basically, like I said, you have to facilitate the trade the way you feel like you facilitate the trade to the best of your ability. But I think it's still wiggle room in that even if something will go awry, you'll still find a way to at least benefit somewhat. And I know I've been the type of person I've been saying, like, I like the way this team's going. And don't get me wrong, if they don't make a play for Donovan Mitchell, I'm completely fine. I'm not out here saying, go make a play for Donovan Mitchell. But if they do make a play for Donovan Mitchell, I'm on board with that too, especially if it's like this. Now, it's more so, what will they be giving up will be my issue. That's my more so issue. It's more so, what would they be giving up, not the acquirement. When it comes with Kevin Durant, it's both. It's getting Kevin Durant and the age of Kevin Durant, his flimsiness, and then also what you would have to give up. One, you don't have to give up that much for Donovan Mitchell compared to Kevin Durant. Like, you wouldn't be giving up nearly as much compared to Kevin Durant. And the age factor, he's way younger. He fixed your timeline from an age standpoint. From your age standpoint, he fixed your timeline, and I think he's more what's the word I want to use? More reliable, more reliable. He's more reliable in that standpoint, and I think you pairing him up with Paolo. That's your two cornerstones right there. Paolo Banchero and Donovan Mitchell. Those are your two cornerstones. You got Markelle Fultz. You had and Franz Wagner. You got Wendell. I mean, that's a nice starting five. I think that starting five, I'm saying, talking about automatically in the playoffs, I think that's a 4 seed. I do. I think that's a 4 seed. I mean, because you got Milwaukee, you have Boston. You have Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, and Brooklyn. That's your 4. I know you got Miami and stuff like that. But I think that starting 5 can get you into. Actually, as I'm sitting there thinking about, I think their starting five actually could get you to the start, especially if Brooklyn does end up getting rid of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Uh, I think that starting five could be because Donovan Mitchell gets Utah to the playoffs, and that's in the West. So he has a way easier assignment to be in the East, and I think those pieces actually complement each other very well. To be honest with you, it's more so about giving up. It's my thing is really cold. I really don't want to give up Cole, and I know people are like, oh, it's Cole Anthony. It's because I think Cole is more beneficial coming off the bench, and once you start, he's more beneficial when he's coming off the bench to your success. It's not just getting rid of Cole Anthony. Even though I know a lot of people are down on RJ Hampton after the summer league, I think RJ Hampton could be a decent two guard as long as he's not being a ball handler. I think he could be a decent two guard without being a ball handler. I think that's his problem is being a ball handler. But I think that Cole, because Cole is a better ball handler, I think you could utilize Cole more often. Now he's more of a volume scorer, but we've seen Cole take good shots. We've seen Cole take key game-winning clutch shots. He doesn't shy away from the moment. So I definitely want Cole on this team. So that's why, is it a deal breaker? If it has to be Cole, it might be for me. It could possibly be. I'm like, hey, okay, Suggs, Isaac, T. Ross, R.J. Hampton, and the picks. I think that should be able to get done. And who knows? You might be able to not even. Hopefully, you wouldn't have to inquire Terrence Ross, or maybe you can get. Maybe you would have to inquire Terrence Ross or R.J. Hampton. Who knows? But I'm thinking you probably would have to. I don't think Suggs, Isaac, and Cole would have got it done either. Like I think that they would want another asset, and probably the other asset would more than likely be Terrence Ross. It can't be you can't trade what you call yet because you just re-signed them. Gary Harris. Gary Harris and Obama, you can't trade them because you just re-signed them. I don't think they were adding Markelle Fultz. I think Franz Wagner's a no-go. Same thing with Wendell. And obviously Paolo's definitely a no-go. So the guys who were up for trade are the guys I just mentioned. And I want to keep Cole back. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think it will happen. I think the Magic are going to go on and going to roll with it. I think the Magic lean towards want to develop kind of like an OKC, kind of like a San Antonio Spurs, like what the Orlando Magic was trying to do back in the early 90s. Like I think that's where they are leaning towards, and that's what they're trying to do. But who knows? You wouldn't be, as a general manager, you wouldn't be doing your job, you wouldn't be doing your due diligence if you wasn't making the call to see, hey, could this be a thing? Could this actually work? You wouldn't be doing your due diligence. Then you have, or at the very least, you wouldn't be doing your job as a general manager if you're not having these type of discussions somewhat on some type of level. Serious or not serious, I think these conversations have to be had because you wouldn't be doing your job as a general manager. I think anytime somebody's available for trade, you need to be talking about it. You need to be talking about it all the time. You need to be having that conversation. No, that doesn't mean you need to be pulling the trigger or making the phone call, but you need to be having a conversation internally on could we, should we. We wouldn't be doing your job if you wasn't. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't, comment below. If you haven't, click that bell, get more videos. Holla.